Your cell phone, please mute it or turn it off. So we get through the meeting without any interruptions. Becky, would you do roll call?
Sure will. Bob Olson.
Here.
Tom Kitson. Jack Scroggstead.
Here.
Mike Zeman. Mike Copine.
Here.
Jim Sheeline.
Here.
Tom Wilson. Nancy Naylor.
Present.
Dean Frail.
Here. Thank you. We'll go around the room. Dee or Deb, do you got anything you want to share with us? Dean, Alice?
Yes. I had a matter that I overlooked on Tuesday that does need to be addressed with regards to the Mound Hill Road solar projects. I have put before you a copy of the conditions, some of the conditions that were recommended by the ZBA. Letter F is something that I'm looking to add. What I'm finding out is that the companies that are petitioning are not the companies that are building these projects. And so there is a little bit of a disconnect between what the petitioner agrees to and what the contractor is aware of. So we're running into situations where there are violations occurring, and I would like to have a little bit more teeth, maybe give them a little bit more incentive for why they would want to comply. So I would like to propose a step-up financial sanction for violations of an active special use permit. Briefly talked about it with Bob as far as what would be appropriate as far as fining. So I am proposing for the first violation, $10,000, the second violation, $25,000, and the third violation is $50,000 and a filing of a petition for revocation of special use permit. If you guys are agreeable to that, I would ask that this condition be incorporated into the resolution that will be approved or will be before the county board next week. One question I do have is that if this is the way you guys would like to proceed, for each violation, do you want the project to cease and desist until the fine is paid? And then how many days do we want to give them to have that fine paid?
What's your thoughts?
Just for clarification, is this particular petition uncommon or common that where you got the petitioner, but yet you got somebody else building it? Is it common that this happens?
Yes.
It's almost like we need to have this almost as always
Yep.
in place then. Is that what
Yes.
we're going to try to do
Yeah.
here?
The
Is
goal
that-
would then be
Okay.
to establish it here today, and then we would adopt this as a condition to any renewable energy project going forward.
I'm all for that.
Nancy?
I'm all for this too. And as a matter of fact, one of the last ZBA hearings I went to, it was very clear that the person that was presenting didn't really know what the company was going to do. And that was kind of concerning. But I also, my point is, I think the project should cease to until the fine is paid. Otherwise, you don't have any carrot for them. And
Yeah.
I don't know about how many days, but I think that until they pay the fine, they shouldn't be able to proceed.
Well, you give them 3 days or 3 business days or something like that.
Yeah.
And me and Alice come up with the numbers if you want to change them. It just had to be something that they would respect. You know, maybe-
Something they acknowledge, but,
Yeah.
and I think stopping it, Alice, because the one that I'm involved in, I know about that is, on a Sunday, I get a phone call that these people are working, are they supposed to be? Well, I get a hold of Alice on Monday, no, they're not supposed to be working. I've already talked to them, I'll talk to them again. The very following Sunday, I get a text message, they're back working again. So obviously, this is only one group, but they're disregarding
Well, I
what you're
think,
telling them, so I think we need to stop it.
I think we're gonna take care of that group. We talked about that. That's the group we talked
Yep.
about. So maybe the first violation, you give them 3 days, or sometimes the violation, there might be some information needs to be passed around too, I hate to stop the project if it's something we need to discuss. But it's totally up to you guys, what your
But if
thoughts
they're
are.
playing by the rules, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like driving down the highway, I don't get stopped for speeding tickets because I'm not going 90 and a 35, but,
Yep.
so I mean, it's the same thing. They play by the rules, they'll never hear from us, they'll never get fined, so.
Right.
I'd have a question with Charlie. I mean, as far as any other ordinance violations that we have on file right now? I mean, do you see any, is there a need to have consistency across the other policies we have with violations? And I'm not familiar with what we do with ordinance violations in this regard. I mean, I'm looking for, I just want to be consistent.
Sure, and there needs to be the consistency with it. I think what's different about this though, which I think is inherent of itself, is these are for some big projects. When we talk about ordinance violations, usually like nuisance code and what have you, that's going to be things that are going to be a fine up to a certain amount. So that's why the question I had for this is the fine going to be $10,000 and $25,000, or is it up to $10,000, up to $25,000? How does that structure work? And then maybe it's worked into it and I've overlooked it or I just didn't see it. Is there a process if they disagree with the violation in the fine amount that they can appeal from there?
Well, that's what I thought, you hate to stop them or whatever, but I think you gotta have it 10 and 25 and 50, because who decides how serious the fine is?
Correct, yeah.
But they do need, the first or second one, they do need some sort of where they can feedback.
And I think you'll want to give them more time than less. I think if you give them 30 days, because if they have the cease and desist and they're not doing anything during that time, they're going to cure it anyway, pretty quick anyway. But if you have a $50,000 fine and they disagree with it or whatever it may be, there needs to be that due process in place too for them to say, I don't agree with the assessment that happened here. I'd like to have a hearing on that.
Would Stephanie have time to work with Alice? Get something,
I actually have a meeting scheduled with
Okay.
her tomorrow.
maybe you can work up something that
Yeah.
you got the idea. We can't vote anything today. It's not on our agenda anyhow, but you got the idea what we want
Yes.
and what you want.
The other question is, how do you stop them? I mean, they're working Sunday, they're not supposed to. Alice has to go out on a Sunday? You send it, I mean, what? And do you just go out on Monday and say, hey, you guys worked yesterday, now you can't work today because,
Well, we did a cease and desist one time with a wind company and they stopped immediately, but who's to say that there
but who
was
served it? Is my point is,
Alice did.
okay.
So.
Well,
that was
no,
re-
but.
That was really effective.
Yeah, right.
They owed us,
Well, you know-
they owed us 850,000. We had it the next morning, I think, didn't we? Or,
Pretty much.
yeah,
Well, I'm just,
So.
The call I got on it
funny
was,
how that works.
you know, okay, I go out there, first of all, I've acknowledged to this guy that if anytime he calls, I'll go. So I'm not gonna do that. And then secondly, are these people gonna pay attention to me at all? Because they
It's
don't even know
definitely,
me.
yeah,
you
it's
know?
definitely not my lane, but I think Alice would get a hold of the sheriff and he'd send somebody out or.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that she could definitely, it doesn't have to be immediately. So you talk about that scenario of Sunday, she could have whatever evidence and investigation done at that point to corroborate whatever it is that she has for the violation. And then send the cease and desist as well as the violation amount, whatever it may be. And that could be, don't want to speak for the sheriff, don't want to speak for Alice, but that could be served upon the company by law enforcement or some mechanism in place for that.
Okay,
But yeah, I think those can all be worked out as
okay.
procedure.
No, I'm sure it can, Charlie. I'm just curious how.
I think,
Thank you.
I think what Alice is prepared to do is she's gonna talk with them today or tomorrow, maybe, and if they're working Sunday, she's gonna pull the permit. So that'll wake them up. So,
Well, as far-
Where,
Oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead, Jim.
No, go ahead. I was just going to comment on the.
Stop me if
amounts.
I'm going
So-
to the wrong base with this comment. Where are we at with the situation in the split area with the wind tower that's been sitting there dismantled and laying on the ground for 2 years? And
that's tied up in court.
Yeah, there's ongoing litigation with that.
what's to prevent that from happening with any of this scenario?
Well, we got different,
Litigation could stall it too, yeah.
Is that an accumulating fee for the 2 years, 1 year, 2 years that this has been? I mean, $10,000 the first offense, we're up to 50 on this one, which I agree with this 100%.
Yeah.
To try and prevent what we've got sitting down there right now.
And that's what that has to be considered when you're looking at this. Is it going to be up to 50,000 per violation? Is it going to be 50,000 per day? Is it going to be, that's the structure you have to look at.
Well, I think if you hold that green dollar bill up there and hit them with a 10, 25, or 50, and they know that we're going to pursue that, that's going to be very effective.
Yep. And it has to be spelled out pretty effectively for the business that's putting these things up or the violations in place. It has to be, is it the first violation of this sort? Is it a violation specific to the building? Is it a violation specific to the violation of the special use permit itself. I think we just need to be very clear.
But
to-
there's stipulations in that application process
Yep.
before they even start, the construction of the situation.
Yep.
Here it is, fellas, 10, 25, or 50. I don't believe that much. I mean, it's coming back on us in a couple of different areas because of this type of, us trying to work with them. Working with them obviously is not doing any good. So I'm in favor of just saying, here it is, that you got, your first one's $10,000. You go this so much longer, it's 25 or 50.
Fancy.
I think whatever amount of money you decide on and all of those stipulations like Charlie has referred to, if we have something like this in place as a county for all these developers that come in and all of these companies that come in, they're going to really realize we mean business, and they would hesitate to push the rules in some cases. I think it's just good business practice.
Charlie, I hate leaving things to interpretation, but you got to leave some of this to interpretation.
Sure.
Do we leave that up to Alice or somebody of whether they can continue or if they got to cease and desist?
Well, I think the way that it's spelled out here is it's going to be up to Alice to decide whether or not there's actually going to be a fine assessed to begin with. So I think it's going to be up to her in discretion, or whoever is going to be in the administrator role's discretion, to say, this is what we're going to do moving forward, if there's going to be a fine assessed, or, hey, listen, I'm giving you a warning right now, otherwise next time.
Yeah, I like that. I think leave it up to her in that position and go from there. So if you need to, how soon do you need this?
And most likely I will consult with board members as these issues arise, so I won't be just taking action without discussion first.
Sure.
So having said that, Mr. Chairman, is that already written in that job's description for the zoning officer? Because, the thing of it is that puts a lot of onus on that position, on Alice and
Yeah.
all that. And probably that discretion on her job description, it should be probably delineated that is a power that she has. I mean, is that already
I
in
think she already
place?
has that power now, don't you, or projects or something if they're not.
Yeah, but I guess my point is that she needs, because you get into that situation, somebody's going to say, where are you getting this power? Where's that coming from?
Oh, it needs to be, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It should be
Yeah.
documented so that it's clear that the zoning officer has that discretion.
As written authority that you do
Yes.
that. Yeah. Why don't you work on that with Stephanie? How soon do you need this? Do you need it right away? Is there a problem brewing or something?
Well, next Thursday is the vote, so,
All right. We'd like to look at it before then if you get it to us.
yep,
All right. That way, if board members got any questions, can you send it out to us so we can
yes,
take a look at it, study it, and get Charlie to approve it?
yes.
All right.
So also with regards to the conditions, letter G is a recommendation for subsurface water testing. The recommended condition is a well test study be done before the commencement of construction and every other year thereafter, with the results reported to the Lee County Health Department. I'm struggling with this proposed condition for a couple of reasons. One, there is no well associated with either project, Mount Hill North or South. So I don't understand what well is being studied. It's vague. It would be an uncontrolled study.
Well, I think it's too vague. It's not specifying what we're looking for. I mean, it's just drinking water and I think
Right.
it's so vague. I think it needs to be, I don't know why they put that in there.
And so my suggestion would be to strike that. I think it's gonna be really hard to enforce. And I don't really think we're gonna get the results that they think they are. This will be an uncontrolled study. With farming has a lot of, fertilizers and stuff that also go into our groundwater. How are we going to be able to determine what's coming from what's causing it without it being like an actual controlled study? So I think this kind of goes above and beyond what we can do here at the county. And my recommendation would be to strike that condition.
Alice, out of curiosity, did that get brought into there because of the gentleman that protested against it and had all the questions about the well water? Keen, you heard that too. I think we were,
Yes, that
okay,
was
I was
the
just curious
ZBA's
because he had very, very specific questions and it was I thought maybe
Yes.
that's what perpetrated this.
And typically, that's what the ZBA does, is they
Mhm.
hear the concerns of
Right.
the public and try to create conditions. Unfortunately, I just don't know what to do with this condition. It's just not very clear. I'm not really sure of the intent.
He wasn't very clear either, to be frank.
Yes.
So I get it.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we'll take that up Thursday when we make the motion or whatever. We'll go from there. But I agree with her. I think too vague.
And then the last thing that I had was just the discussion regarding a zoning hearing officer. I have given you the resume of Mandy Florup, with her references are on the last page. She is currently the zoning hearing officer for Whiteside County. And we are looking to fill that position.
Wait. All right. So we talked to, Jeremy, you want to touch on this? This is more than we actually thought. We went out for $500 per meeting, or I'll let you take it.
Yeah, so initially when this was developed, I mean, this has been a work in progress for months, that Alice has been working with Stephanie and Charlie and their team and myself. And recently Susan, who was able to help create the job description and posting. Little background on that is we had submitted this directly to firms regionally across the state into, closer to Quad Cities, Rockford, Peoria, everywhere. And with minimal responses. We did get a response from the zoning hearing officer that is currently working with Whiteside County doing the exact same thing. And she is interested in coming here. The one issue is that we had crafted this for $500 a hearing. The expectation and what Whiteside pays is $750 a hearing. And we do have, talking with Alice, it seems like we have that in the budget to cover this. And this is a very highly qualified person to come in that currently has experience doing this regionally, and does want the opportunity to be our zoning hearing officer. So we feel pretty fortunate to have that. Susan did did a little bit of background checks and checked on some references and checked with Whiteside, and they're very happy with her services currently. So I think the one thing that we need to discuss is that, Charlie, obviously is the one that appoints, hires, attorneys that are outside of the county for county practice. And then we just as a board need to approve this hire and move forward. Again, it's a little bit outside of the original scope from a financial standpoint and payment structure, but it's still something that we have within our budget.
And I think that's something we can tweak. We can tweak what we charge as we go along if we see it's getting out of balance. And one thing about her, Whiteside, I think really gets along good with her. And she could start day one. So there's no training.
Yeah, and another benefit, she is from Wadsworth, Illinois, which is a couple hours away. So she does not have any ties to this area. So it alleviates that conflict of interest issue we've had.
My only downside or concern, I guess is a better term, is now you've got one person controlling two counties. Has anybody got any issues with that? As long as she does her job correctly, we shouldn't have any issues. Yeah. Mike.
That was gonna be one of my questions.
Yeah.
So is she gonna work both or whatever?
She'll continue to work with both, yes. So I assume. But we shouldn't assume, right, Jeremy? So,
I briefly went through her, my question is, would be, does she have the time, being that far away and whatnot? But after looking at her resume,
yeah.
and this gal definitely has very good organizational skills, because man, has she done a lot of stuff
Yeah.
in a short period of time. So impressive resume.
And Alice, I'm sorry, but she might have mentioned she didn't apply because it was $500. Is that correct?
Yes, initially she didn't, and when she started with Whiteside, it was $500 a meeting, and that was several years ago. They recently did increase it. She said it's just not worth her time for $500, so.
So let's put it on the agenda for Thursday. If we get to that part.
And we'll make sure that from the finance department, we're wanting to make sure that, you know, we recover her costs.
Yes, and we can tweak
Budget
some
neutral
fees
for
and,
us.
yeah, we'll tweak some fees and study that, I guess.
Yes, once Joe Bay starts, we would like to look at the fee structure that we currently have and probably have to change a few of them.
Any other questions about that?
So what exactly do you want the wording on the agenda to be?
I thought that's what you did.
Well, I want to do it right.
I don't know, hire hearing officer Mandy Florup.
So is it the topic you're voting on, hiring her or the fees?
a
Or what she
fee,
charges?
I would hire and include the fee in it. And a
Hire and-
start date. We'll work on that. We can get that.
So essentially, it'll go into effect the day you guys pass the ordinance.
All right.
I'll come up with something.
We'll work on it. We'll get something.
Something
together.
fascinating. Yeah, good idea.
Oh. All right, Melanie, are you done?
I'm done.
Thanks, Allison. Oh, you got anything first? All right. We'll move down to approval of minutes. Any changes? Corrections? If not, they're going to stand as presented. We'll move down to reports. Mr. Zeman's not here, so we'll go with Mr. Scrugstead. Oh,
I can do it if you
yes,
want.
yes, please. I'm
Be
sorry.
offended if you want to skip. it.
Nope, I'm sorry.
Okay, The Lee County Claims Committee met for the first time this month, or for this thing, where is that? On April 23rd. We reviewed 40 claims. One claim was rejected back due to lack of an invoice that was coordinating with it, but we got that back. So we approved 40 claims and sent to the county board for ratification. That meeting was attended by the chair, Mike Seaman, myself, and Keen Hudson. And the second meeting we had this month was on May 7th, just recently. Mike Seaman was absent, and I chaired the meeting with Keen Hudson and Tom Kitson. And last time we reviewed 58 claims. All 58 were forwarded after we got one missing invoice. So we didn't really reject it. We just had to ask for an invoice. There was nothing else, no other new business, no executive session. And that's our report.
I know there's some credit card receipt hiccups or something. They got that figured out.
Yeah,
streamlined.
yeah, it's, sometimes it's complicated to explain until you really go through it. And I don't mean that disparagingly, but sometimes each department might have 2 or 3 credit cards that they, send in. So now that we've figured out how they work and how they operate, it works really well. And then sometimes it's, again, like we talked about in executive, we send them back for the tax purposes. They've charged tax on different claims, and that particular situation we talked about this morning, Tom talked about this morning, will help us in getting the expedition of those claims passed through so that they don't sit out there. But we want to make sure we get the credit cards through so that they get paid in time. Because the credit card, if it goes into arrears and they would, for any reason, block the credit card, it's every single one. It's not just one department's
That's the
credit
problem.
card.
God, there's got to be some way to
And-
clear it out all the time.
Yeah, so that was, that's one of our concerns, that we make sure that we absolutely get all we need to approve that payment. And because of the credit card cycles, sometimes they fall in different places in our 2 different meetings. So we're trying to be very cognizant of that, so that does not happen. But for all intents and purposes, it's going pretty well, We
It has-
run into some hiccups, but you're going to have hiccups when it comes to, payments. There's no question.
Hasn't been shut off in a while. I've got a couple calls from some employees that they stopped to get gas and the credit card don't work. So
Uh-huh.
them are good ones.
Yeah, so
So-
we're aware of that.
You gotta love that.
Any questions I can answer, I'll be happy
Any
to.
questions?
Otherwise, that's my report.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Nancy. County Services, Mr. Scrugstead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. County Services met May 13th, 9 a.m. It was a pretty short, one of our shorter meetings that day. Nothing really major to report other than the department reports are in your agenda packet. Take a look at that. Greg Gates did do a presentation. He had some information that's also in the agenda packet. One of the things I want to point out is he's got a fundraiser golf outing that I got. I didn't bring it with me today, but a pamphlet. So maybe we put something together, a team or something like that. But that's coming up, I think, in sorry, I can't remember the date, but I can give it to you later. Yeah, it's in the future. It's not this month.
It's coming up, huh?
It might be next month and it might be July. So, sorry. That's all. Any questions about the golf outing? I have no idea. I'll have to get back with you.
Any questions for Jack on his detailed report? Speaking of golf outing, we'll be going to Galena again, so if there's some foursomes, we need to get lined up. Again, so get the
Or an eightsome.
get the band together again. So, all right. We'll move on to Public Safety and Court Services, Mr. Copine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was here during my meeting. I'm just going to state in case I goof up someplace. So I was here. Public Safety met Tuesday, May 13th. Last month's meeting minutes were approved without any changes or anything. We heard from Melanie Wilstead on some issues that she and the mayor are working on in Harmon area. Animal control, circuit clerk, and emergency management have got their reports turned in. They're available through the packet. I'd like to highlight on the information that came in for discussion only from Emergency Management Agency. And we're starting to relive an attempt that was made several years ago, about 3 times as far as open burning. The discussion was that there have been a number of firefighters, 5 of which in 2 different counties northwest of us. Some of the 5 of them, 4 for that matter, were seriously injured on burns responded to as a call for a controlled burn. And the situation, excuse me, reversed itself and ended up being an uncontrolled burn. Fire departments responded. Firemen were injured. 4 of those 5 were flown to Rockford for further medical care and treatment. I started asking some questions, and of course, according to the laws and stuff, the way they are, you can't find out too much as far as what has happened, how it happened, or anything right now. We would like to reapproach again the open burning scenario, and it isn't for the situation of going out and trying to put the hammer on somebody that's burning a pile of brush or, burning off the ditch banks or whatever the case. It might be a focus on those who are repeat offenders. So we discussed it for a little while. We're going to hold it for the next month's meeting. Jeremy's working on some issues on the burning ordinances that we have right now and how they're may need to be changed, and then we'll move on from there. So if anybody, there's a half page of writing here. I don't want to bore you with all of it, but you may be the blunt force of arrows and bows and arrows out there. So,
Well, I think we need to do something, especially a day like today. We got people burning stuff and it's just getting out of hand. So,
well, we've got, the National Weather System has a red flag warning day. And we have had people that have called in controlled burns. And unfortunately, the people out of the 911 building down there cannot tell them they can't burn. But they can inform them of the conditions that the National Weather Service has brought to their attention, that the conditions are not favorable for doing so. And for those that go out and think, I'm going to do it anyway, I'll do what I want to do. That's what we're focusing on, and that also hopefully will help the fire departments. We've had March 8th to April 8th, 168 calls for controlled burn. And the following month, they had 102. And there was one day when they had every fire department in Lee County out on burns, which depletes our volunteer departments down to little or nothing for backups for any other types of calls, ambulance calls, structure fires, or whatever. And I think we need to take a focus on something and reconsider this. Not to tell them that we're trying to drop the hammer on them,
Yeah.
but if you're going to repeat the offense, then something would be considered. So we're going to fine tune it. We may have it before the board next month. Jeremy's working on it right now.
Yep, we'll have a draft to bring through committees next month and hopefully have something prepared for the board.
And I think the red flag, we need to have that on our website too, or something, or a certain thing. Gone are the days of Yogi Bear when he pulled into the campground and said, put Yogi on there or whatever. Yeah.
We can get a famous Dixon Pelican that flies in and use
Yeah, there you
them,
go. But I think.
Other than that, the other department representatives that were here have their reports on file and they are available through your packet. If I can answer any of the other questions, I'll be glad to.
Do you have anything for Mike? Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
We'll go to facilities and maintenance, Mr. Friel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The report is in the packet. The only thing I might mention, did the air conditioning get fixed, Charlie, over across the way?
It's doing better. I don't know if it's completely fixed. I think they only did maybe 3 out of the 5 fans that were out.
Okay, so they had 5 of the 6
Wow.
blower fans are shot or whatever, so that's why I was just,
Are them on the new units or are they?
yeah. Less than a year.
Wow.
So it sounds like it's getting better, so got a solution.
That's not a good sign.
No,
Is there any warranty on those?
I'm
Been
sorry.
in less than a year. Is there any warranty on them?
Oh, I'm sure there is,
Yeah.
yeah. That's all I've got, unless you have any questions.
We were talking earlier this morning, I don't know if you know, any more work been done with the wall out here? Have you heard anything?
No.
We're still waiting for, get back from,
Yeah.
all right. Any questions for Dean? Not, we'll move on to finance. Mr. G-Line.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance met this morning. We had our regular monthly financials pretty much coming in as expected. Reed reported that we're a little bit accelerated on expenses this year compared to last year, but in fact, he commented that he was going to have some chats with department heads and making sure that, they're watching their burn rate. And as far as revenues goes, there's always, this year has just been a year of anomalies. And we have another one, local use tax showed up less, but as Reed explained, is that it's kind of offset by sales tax. Sales tax numbers are up. So there's just some weird things going on in regards to what the states, how they're calibrating what is being done as regards to large retailers and whatnot that's affecting some of those numbers. But overall, the revenue that we're getting from sales tax is actually up from last year. You got a question, Bob?
Oh, I should have come to finance for this question. I apologize.
Yeah.
But on that local use tax, there was 2 months. One was like $6,000. It was really.
That's this last payment. And that's the one I pointed out to Reed, and that was the answer. Their inquiry is that some retailers had been recalibrated, and it actually, that money is actually going now is reflected in what we're getting on sales tax. So
Okay, so it's okay. I follow you. Well,
Yeah.
what about the?
So his suggestion for us, as we look at our revenues, is you look at the sales tax, including the local use tax as a whole, as an aggregate number,
Okay.
rather than breaking that out and looking at that as an individual because it's going to drive us crazy. So,
Yeah.
so look at your total aggregate
It
number.
will, but then when you look, there's like
Yeah.
3 more months, it was back to normal, then all of a sudden it took a dive again, but that's
Yeah.
what he's saying. Okay, I didn't know if they could call down and see what's going on with that.
Right?
What about the sales tax of the county tax of the dispensary? Has that been quantified yet, or?
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, it's on the financials. I don't have that in my head. Let's see, I can pull that up real
I
quick.
don't think it was as much as we thought it was going to be.
You what?
Sorry, I don't think it's as much as we anticipated it was going to be. I don't remember the
Landfill.
figures. What was it, 11,000 this past month?
Well,
I don't- Jim
let
will
me-
say it.
Let me get there. If I can, shoot. Yeah, I know.
I was just curious. I mean, we can.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I got it. So the cannabis local tax for, was $4,500. That was paid in March, or December. That was from the previous, let's see, make sure I'm reading that wrong. Okay, that was December activity that was paid in March was 4,500. The January activity paid in April was 11,000. The February activity payable this month was 10,000. So it was down $400 from last year. So overall, from the cannabis local tax, we've received $26,000.
When did they open, Jeremy?
They opened the
I was
week.
just kidding. I just was
Oh.
kidding, right? Yeah.
Jeremy knew though.
You know, I was actually driving by there on their opening day, and they had a line around the door or the building. So thank you very much.
I don't think you're going to get the answer, Bob.
I think Jeremy wants me to continue with my report. Move along, Mr. Sheeline. That's pretty much it, unless there's other questions on financials, and we'll be talking about capital here in a second. We did have a Joseph E. Meyer resolution that will have to, got moved on to this committee to be put on the county board agenda. Always interesting information in regards to the sheriff's report. Always appreciate Clay doing that for us. And so the biggest thing that we had coming out of finance today was in regards to the Tyler project across the street. As we reported last month, we did not get the grant to pay that. So we had budgeted for this year out of capital $1 million. Of course, we knew that wasn't going to cover the entire cost. We just didn't know exactly how much. So the excess over the $1 million was going to be. So we have a better handle on that. And we also have a timeline in regards to what we anticipate the expenditure is going to look like. It's going to be an 18-month project. It's going to be an 18-month payout period. That's having said that. So we are going to be paying this through different fiscal years. The bottom line is that our cost upfront, total cost of the project as it stands right now is $1.5 billion. That includes the first year's support costs or licensing fees, whatever you want to call them. They call them SaaS fees. And that's $164,000 a year. That's going to be our coming out of capital this year. This is going to be a significant drawdown. We're showing, if you look at capital right now, we're running about $9 million in capital. We have roughly about $4.3 million in that we're required to carry in capital in regards to our 90-day ordinance that we have in place. So really what we're looking at as far as capital reserves that we have available to spend for this fiscal year and is roughly a little over $4 million. So when you take $1.5 million out of that, you can see that gets us down pretty tight.
Big hole.
So that's going to be, and then you throw in the cost of the wall, you got, and the other things that are going on. You know, as Reed told us this morning, that really essentially takes our capital down to zero. Now, having said that, there's always things that you never do get to zero. I remember, and you guys have been around, Mike, you remember when Paula came on board and did 5-year projection, she had us broke 5 years ago, so that's kind of what happens. When things get tight, you make adjustments. You push things off, you don't do projects, we make it work. So we'll make this work. It's going to be a tough budget year. I'm just going to, it just is. We're hopefully, as I look around Dixon area and the county, I see things happening. There is construction growth. There's going to be new property next year. We're going to have things. I'm sure that's, how much that actually is going to amount for next year. I'm sure as we go through the budget process, we'll be looking at those projections. So I don't want to paint too much of a doom and gloom. Finance is always the doom and gloom guys. I don't want to be too much doom and gloom, but it's going to be tough. So anyway, we did approve the resolution out of finance for the additional $512,000 to cover the entire Tyler costs. And so that's not something, as Tom was kind of holding up the timeline, what we're looking at out of this fiscal year is probably roughly about $600,000, $700,000. If, depending on, and that depends on what the actual start date of the project and how that's invoiced out. One of the things that I asked for Amy to do for us is that she makes sure that as those invoices come in, that she just doesn't, shove them off to second floor, that they actually come into the finance committee so we have a good handle on how this thing's progressing over time. So, so that's that. If anybody have any questions in regards to that project. Okay. Actually, that's as far as things going on the agenda, I think that's it. I don't think I missed anything. Did I miss anything, Tom? I made the mistake, multiple fees and all that. This program will take care of, it'll split out all those fees that are incorporated in a particular case. She was using this as an example. I mean, this thing's a lot more comprehensive than this. But in her situation, she showed the sheet that showed how one case is broken out. And there's like, what was it, Charlie? 24 different items that gets broken out in just one
funds, fees,
case.
and costs, yeah.
Yeah. So it gets really complex. And of course, if you don't have a program that's able to do these things, all that has to be manually incorporated, and which just creates, a lot of time and people. So
I hate to ask, but will there be staffing savings by this program, you think, or not?
that has not been part of the equation. I'm sure we will have that discussion as we go through the budget process.
Sure.
What's that?
It replaces a program they have now.
Yeah, replace, so whether there be, I don't think, my understanding is there's no anticipation of there being any.
I don't know if they're attrition or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Jim? Thanks, Jim.
You bet.
You got the sheriff's office report detailing events within the department. You guys can take a look at that at your leisure. Administrative report, Jeremy.
Nothing to report today, Chairman.
All right, keep going. I have no unfinished business, no items on a new business. We got 3 reappointment resolutions on the agenda. If there were no objections, I'd like to get a motion to approve all 3 appointments. Mr. Kitson moves, Nancy seconds it. Any discussion? If none, all those in favor doing all 3 at once, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So now we're gonna do all 3. Is there a motion to approve reappointments of Lori Urbis, Cole Olson to to the Lee County Board of Review and James Burke to the Lee County Farmland Assessment Review Committee and move them to the May County Board agenda. Nancy moves, Mr. Kitson seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion carries. So then there's also a first-time appointment resolution on the agenda for Kathleen Whalen as Lee County Animal Control Deputy Administrator. Is there a motion to move that resolution to the county board agenda? Mr. Friel moves. Mr. Copine seconds it. Any discussion? If none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Raffle reports, is there a motion to approve the April 23rd, 2025 last alarm raffle report to have it on file with the county? Mr. Friel moves. Nancy seconds it. Any discussion? If none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You can review the per diem report and for county board approval for the meetings in May. May payout. It's for information. I have no executive session. If there's no questions or comments, we'll move on to the county board agenda items. You got one?
Yes, can I make one comment?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna say this as a tax-paying citizen, not as a board member. The work that's been done on the fourth floor of the courthouse over there is beautiful. The carpets look nice. The judges' chambers are very nice. Judge Ackert's chambers, the people that were in there for the jury, the grand jury, all commented as they walked in. They said, "Oh my gosh, this looks so beautiful in here." And basically it was painting done and the carpet done. And I want to tell you, I thank you for the curtains that are over those windows. We need Jeremy to thank the maintenance department. Everybody on that jury recognized those curtains were there rather than the cardboard and said how nice it looked. So thank you.
Good. Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Tom. Let's go through here. I will do the call to order. We'll go A, B, C. Let's go down through here. On E, we got board chairman announcements, acknowledge of David Anderson's 25 years at Lee County Highway Department. Of that, approval of board minutes.
This is his first 25 years,
First
right?
25,
Yeah,
yeah.
first
Yep.
25.
Yep. Yeah. Right. And I can't believe he's been here 25. That's amazing.
It is amazing.
Of course, the approval of board minutes, the Joseph Meyer resolution you talked about. On zoning and planning, we have one petition from Grace Fellowship Church. Alice, do we charge them for that? Like a church or religion?
No, I did not charge the church. I also, Compton Community Fire District came through. I did not charge them as well.
All right, thank you. I think the church wants a variance. Is that correct?
A special use permit.
Oh,
Currently, they are operating, but they want to add a parish hall. In order to do so, they have to come into compliance, which is a special use in the R2.
okay. All right. Petitions going to planning commission, there's none. Petitions coming from the zoning board of appeals, there's 4. You know, I'm not gonna read through them unless you want me to. I mean, we know all 4, A, B, C, and D. We got one petition coming from the planning commission. Any questions or comments about them? If none, we'll go down to administrative monthly update, public comments, county organization presentations. Who do we got coming this month? Jeremy, do we have anybody?
We had Carla Belzer and she needed to reschedule, so we'll have Carla Belzer and I believe it's Lucas Pauly next month. We'll have 2.
All right, I'm good with that. All right. Reports of committees, unfinished business. We got the zoning administrator. It's tabled. So we're gonna have to pull that off the table and we're gonna put, what's her name again? Mandy? Mandy in place for that?
So I was just talking to Charlie about this. I mean, the board doesn't necessarily need to vote on this hiring. You can if you want. Just obviously need to vote on the ZBA ordinance or the
Okay.
ordinance for the ZHO.
Yeah, we have to put the cart before the horse, basically, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to approve
I don't know if I'd call her horse, but, you know.
It's a figure of speech.
Okay, all right.
Sorry. My gosh, is this like laugh in today or what?
Your turn to.
He's been stuck in a sprayer for like a month.
I've been locked up in a cab, all right?
Yeah.
Stop me if you heard these, right?
Yeah, so I mean, again, if the board needs to vote on the ordinance, that's been held over, and so that needs to happen. You don't necessarily need to vote on the hearing officer. Charlie and I can move through with that. If you want to, it could be on the agenda.
No, let's just vote on the process and Debbie, you got that, I'm sure, right?
It's fine.
So it's on the agenda to take off the table. So my question is, the resolution for the hiring compensation and conditions does not need to be on there then.
Okay,
Thank you.
even though we changed the compensation, we're good. All right. So it's on the table, we're gonna take it off the table. And then we're gonna vote on it. Under new business, we got Tyler Technologies. Funding request. Resolution for reappointment of Cole, Lori, and James and Kathleen. Executive session. Approval of county officers' reports, quarterly reports, the roll call, monthly, and all that. Approval of board member mileage and per diem. Adjournment. I need a motion to approve the proposed county board agenda. Nancy moves. Mr. Kitson seconds it. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Then I need a motion for adjournment.
So
Jack moves and Jim,
Wilson's not here. Wilson's not here, so I'll help him out. All in favor, aye.